A pair of West Bank state lawmakers are urging the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office to adopt a body-worn camera program. Representatives Rodney Lyons and Kyle Green Jr., they're demanding greater transparency from JPSO. It comes as angry protests across the country are drawing attention to police brutality following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis police custody. 2 days after Floyd's death, Modesto Reyes was shot and killed by a JPSO deputy following a chase in Marrero. The JPSO says Reyes pointed a gun at deputies. They also showed some journalists an 8-second clip of video recorded on a taser camera that shows a man face down who then rolls over and has an object in his hand. Deputies say that object was one of 2 guns that Reyes possessed. Lyons and Green maintain had the officers been wearing body-worn cameras, it would have been easier to figure out if the shooting was justified or not.
They have more good outcomes than bad, and it's time that we have that. The national trend is there, and by and large, my constituency and the people here of Jefferson want that.
The use of body cameras would help minority communities, specifically African Americans, who have had a history, a dark history with law enforcement.
A spokesman for Sheriff Joe Lopinto said the JPSO is not commenting on body cameras. In the past, the sheriff has said he's not opposed to them, but he claims they are too expensive.